Nurburgring is the scene of the final round of the 2018 Blancpain Sprint Cup. Weather set fair for a weekend. It's super tight at the top of the championship. Let's see how we got here. Looking at the highlights from the Nurburgring, where weather conditions were very tricky indeed. 3 laps behind the safety car before the field was released. Really tiptoeing down to the first corners, drivers not wanting to throw it away before they've even completed the opening lap. With a really strong racing in the opening laps was between the two Christophers, Haas and Mies. Bortolotti's car with Engelhardt at the wheel was leading the way. But it was the Audis that were running side by side. A few drivers slipping off towards the edge of the circuit, but actually the drivers did a remarkably good job, as you can see, in very tricky conditions. Of course there were spinners. Unfortunately, Marcus Winkelhock tipped into a spin there. Got it back going. This is the moment where Christopher Haas in the Santalot Racing Audi went down the inside and took the smile off the faces of WRT. You can see Vincent Vos shaking his head as the position changed, looping round from Andrea Caldarelli. That would earn him punishment as well. Then it came to the time of the pit stops. Even the pit stop was very, very slippery. Out onto the track we went again. Drivers changed to the second pairings, and there the unfortunate departure of the 63 Lamborghini. You can see the mechanic trying to get out of the working lane, but he was still there when the car was moving away, so a drive-through penalty really wrecked the chances in the second race. And unfortunately, possibly with a flat tyre deflating, Piti Bierenbakti down to the next corner, round he looped into the gravel, and with the Ferrari sitting there, the safety car had to be used until it was cleared away. When the safety car withdrew, Michael Meadows streaked away at the front of the field, but Hubert Haupt just could not build on the work that Lucas Stoltz had done in the Black Falcon. Mercedes started falling back down the field. He kept on falling, much to the distress of Lucas Stoltz. Eventually would go all the way down to 12th place. The Audi's looking fantastic over the curves. Little bit of a slip up there, and unfortunately for Christopher Mies and Alex Riberos, their loss of position. Then Dries van Tor going for a spin. No problems at all though for the 88 crew, and Michael Meadows and Raffaele Marciello taking maximum points to go equal top in the championship. You can see how delighted Meadows was when he got out of the car, and Raffaele Marciello dispensing the champagne on the podium. The number 1 Audi has had the most fantastic season. That's why it comes to the Nurburgring for the final round in the championship lead. A series of podium positions were followed by 2 wins, both wins at Misano for Alex Riberos and his teammate Christopher Mies. Will they build on that here at the Nurburgring? They're going to have to make sure they take the championship title. Let's see if they can.
Obviously the plan is to finish in front of the other guys, of the Mercedes guys. We came to Budapest with 20 points advantage. We left with 0. So it didn't go to plan, but obviously this is my home track. This is where I've done the most laps of my career. I live just 1 hour from here, so I really want to take this momentum, feel being in home soil and take as many points as possible from the other guys away and finish in front.
In the Pro-Am class, Santalot Racing has a toe in the pond because Neil Stevenart and Marcus Winkelhock have had a really good season. They've come on strong. 4 class wins out of the last 5 races in their battle with the TP12 Ferrari crew. Will they win it this weekend?
I have done really many laps at Nürburgring, that's sure. Niels never has done 1 lap. It's his first time on the Nürburgring. So we watched a lot of onboard laps before we went on track, then we did like a track walk, and now after the first free practice session, there was some good data to look at after the first session, and I think he's doing well. I think the Audi is normally pretty good at Nürburgring, and at the end, we just shouldn't do any mistakes, clear racing, and then I think everything should be possible this weekend.
The pressure is really on for the TP12 Kessel Racing Ferrari crew of Piti Bierenbakti and Carlo Van Dam. They've led the Pro-Am honours all season, but they come here to the Nürburgring with only 3.5 points advantage over the chasing Santalot Audi crew. But Piti Bierenbakti is excited.
Yeah, last year I'm new to all of the tracks, so my confidence is not that high. But this year is repeating of all the tracks. I have a lot more confidence. As well, the highlight of our team, I think this year we did not miss any podium, and I think in terms of my pace, I did a lot better than last year. So just continue doing the good job.
In third place for overall Sprint Cup honours are the 63 Lamborghini crew of Christian Engelhardt and Mirko Bortolotti. They've taken 2 wins, but their season has been full of ups and downs. Can they come good this weekend?
Nurburgring is always a special place to race. It's not just because of the layout, but also because of the weather, because you never know what's going to happen. As it looks now, it should stay dry for the rest of the weekend, but you never know at the Nurburgring, and it's always good to have the last race of the season here. We won the endurance race 2 years ago in this place, so we got good memories at this track, and we are in the title fight. So yeah, never say never. We have a chance, and we will go for it, we will fight for it, and the aim is to win the championship.
It's been a great season for Attempto Racing since they moved across to running Audis this year. They took victory in one of the opening races at Zolder, and Stijn Schothorst and Kelvin van der Linde are a super strong pairing, 4th on the championship, looking for more victories here in the final round.
I like this track a lot. I've had my last year I've had my first GT3 race here, and it went quite well. Kelvin, my teammate, is very experienced on this track as well. So I think we're in a good position. We're sort of in the underdog position, but I think that's a good thing for us. We don't have much to lose. We can only go forward, and that's our aim. Historically seen, the Audi's been always quite good on the Nurburgring, so I'm hoping for this year it's the same. The BRP seems quite decent for us. It's really cool to be racing so many professional drivers, and I'm very proud to be able to match with them and occasionally beat them as well. And that's what we're here for, and that's what we're planning to do.
A driver pairing that's really, really on the up. It's got the momentum. It's the 88 ACA ASP Mercedes crew of Raffaele Marciello and Michael Meadows. Came good with 2nd and 1st places to move equal with the championship leading number 1 Audi at the Hungaroring. Will they deliver this weekend? It's really finely poised.
Relatively confident, I think. When you come to a race in Blancpain, you can never be fully confident because it's a really tough championship, but we need to maximise our package and then see where we end up. I think the Audi is going to be fast, so there's a few more of them, so we've got to fight our way through them.
It's been a fantastic season for the ACA ASP pairing that runs in the Silver Cup class. Nico Bastian and Jack Manchester, they already have the championship in the bag, completing their season's real work at the Hungaroring last time out. So here it's a glory ride at the Nurburgring, and they're looking for a really, really top result against the full pro honours. Let's hear from Nico Bastian.
The plan is to get points because we are still fighting for the overall Silver Cup Championship. So Hubert Haupt is here, who wants to steal the trophy. So that's why we need to look after him, to be ahead of him, or at least not to lose so many points. And it's his home track as well, and it will be tight for sure. So we try to find a lot of points here to have a good advantage for Barcelona, because for sure the overall championship is very nice to get as well.
So we've just heard the interviews from the drivers vying for championship honours, and as you look out over the Nürburgring, you can see a day that started with bright blue skies and sunshine has cloud coming over. It's relatively high cloud, and I don't think it's going to have a role to play in this race. Track temperature, we saw 25 degrees this morning, and it's tumbled down to below 21. Humidity, though, that has come back down. So for John Watson and me, Bruce Jones, I think we're set fair for 1 hour of prodigious racing. There's so much to play for. This is the penultimate race of the championship, the final race tomorrow morning, but we've already had the roll of the dice and the championship leading duo of Alex Riberas and Chris Vermees, their car in the wall this morning. But this is a circuit, the Nürburgring, that is just so difficult to get past, easy to get close, but you've really got to choose your moment and be committed to get past.
Yeah, 5.1 kilometres around, 16 corners, but they tend to flow into each other. Difficult to get a run on somebody and get a clean overtaking opportunity into turn 8 down to the bottom of the hill is one opportunity. Favourite place probably is actually at the end of the pit straight into turn 1. But if you overrun the corner, it's easy to get the undercut from the car you've been overtaking, and it can come back and then squeeze you out going through that long double apex turn 2.
So there is the final corner of the circuit, turn 16, just on the right hand side of the screen. A course vehicle going the wrong way through the chicane, but you can see the drops and the rises of the Nürburgring circuit. Almost nothing is on the flat. How about that for tight at the top of the championship? Raffaele Marciello and Michael Meadows listed as on top, but they only have one win to their name, and Alex Riberas and Chris Vermees have 2. So at the moment they're actually the team just ahead, but Marciello was just picked to pole. If he got the bonus point, the number 88 Mercedes crew would be on 75 points and at the top. It's so tight that both of them will have one race where they're starting near the front and another when they're starting in the midfield. Both cars had light problems because Michael Meadows only qualified 10th for this afternoon's race, so he'll have to keep it clean, keep it tidy and get out of the middle of the pack, stay out of trouble, which is never an easy thing when the cars are so close in terms of lap times.
The big issue, of course, is going to be for the number one, the Audi of Christopher Mies and Alex Riberas, because in Q2 it had a major off, a big shunt down at the bottom of the hill going into the hairpin at turn 8. Turns out it was a brake pipe failure. So that's the reason why we saw that we obviously may not have been following it unless you were following online. So that car is still probably being worked at if it hasn't made its way onto the grid. The team did ask for a scouting lap at the end of a previous round of the Formula Renault Championship. That was declined. They were advised if they need to do work on the car, to get the car out at the earliest opportunity, to do laps through the pit lane, which they're allowed to do. And if there were any requirements to change to the car, well then that's when they can handle all that situation.
We've seen the orange and green Lamborghini number 63 go to pole. Let's hear from Mirko Bortolotti.
Mirko, now this is a big race for you. Lots of championship title points on the line here. Turn 1, very complex. You're going to go for the outside or the inside?
Well, I start on the right-hand side, so if the start goes normal, I think I will defend my line. But every start has its own story. So let's see what happens. If everything goes well, I have the inner line, so I will defend that.
So, as you said, you're maybe going to take the inside of it. Is that going to be really beneficial? Because, the outside line tends to be a bit quicker.
Yeah, but you still have to get around it. So, if you're in front, you can decide which line you take. And if the guys are behind, if they want to go past, they have to go around the outside, which is not easy.
Now, what advantage do you think the Lamborghini has over the Lexus beside you starting on P2?
I think it's so well balanced in this championship, as you see. So it's really hard to say. I've never driven the Lexus. I know my car really well, and I'm really happy with the car I drive. So I think it's going to be an exciting race. We have the best starting spot that we can have, and starting from pole is always nice. But at the end of the day, the points are awarded at the end of the race. So we have to have a really strong race if we want to win.
Good luck.
Thank you.
As always, Mirko Bortolotti straight on the money with his conversation. But it is a mystery for him, starting this time with the Lexus alongside him on the front row. The Lexus has got nothing to lose. So Albert Costa, who's astounded himself and the team, they were absolutely nowhere in practice yesterday, second fastest. What do you reckon? He can really go for it into the opening corner, whereas Mirko Bortolotti knows he's third in the championship, has a chance for the title. He's got to be a little bit defensive.
To some degree, he's got to be a little bit circumspect, but of course it's a battle between who's going to be into turn 1 the first. Bortolotti is not going to concede anything to the Lexus, and he will consolidate going into turn 1 and out of that into turn 2.
Well, let's hear from the Lexus crew, because Cota's caught up with Albert Costa.
Mr. Costa, you're starting on the front row of the grid. What a good feeling that is. You were so quick in qualifying. How does your qualifying pace match to your race pace?
We will see. We make a good changes in the car, so I think we're going to be strong in the rhythm. But everything can happen. So it's good to start in the first row for first time in the Lexus in the Blancpain. So I'm really happy. It makes my life easier for the race. But we will see. Everything can happen. I think the car is running good, so I hope at least to keep the car in the top 3.
Do you have any strategy for the first few corners?
I have, but let's see. It depends how we will start. I don't want to say anything.
Everything's a secret. Good luck.
Bye.
Yeah, you're not going to sort of offer up your options into turn 1 when everybody in the pit lane will be probably monitoring this broadcast, hearing the interview and saying, well, there's a free gift if we ever got one. So it'll be a battle between Lamborghini and the Lexus into turn 1, but Mirko was very correct in saying I'm in the inside line. I can effectively gain control going into turn 1. It is a tight corner, tight apex. But there is a space. Where is that number 1? There is the driver, Christopher Mies.
The car is there, John.
Pardon?
The car is there at their feet. Christopher Mies further away from us. He was the driver who had the brake pipe problem, but certainly he could pat on the back. Alex Riberas did just the sort of job required of him to stay in the championship hunt. There is their car. It's been repaired. We don't know the full extent of the damage, but it was the brake pipe that failed that caused the car to go straight on. But let's head back down to the grids. And let's go down because he clinched the silver title last time out. Jack Manchester.
Jack, First of all, a massive happy birthday to you. How does it feel racing on your birthday?
Oh yeah, it's great. I've never done it before. Yeah, I mean, doing what you love on your birthday, you couldn't really ask for anything more than that, really.
Except for, you know, winning the Silver Cup title.
Yeah, no, that's something that would be really nice. Obviously, you can't win it this race, but the overall this race. But it'd be nice to get the win this race at least.
And what's it been like racing with Blancpain at so many legendary tracks such as this one?
Oh, it's been amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better championship to do, but you know, better car, better teammate. It's just the best.
Good luck, birthday boy.
Just, I want to go back to the number one Audi. The team obviously worked flat out to get that car repaired, to get all the suspension components. The left side of the car was damaged. The problem now is Alex Riberos, who's going to be taking the start, will have only had at best a number of laps where he's come through the pit lane, gone out and done another lap. Very little option or choice if there were issues. But the WR team is such a well-oiled machine. I mean, they know exactly what it's going to take to get that car back to the quality and standard it was before that moment for Christopher Mies in Q2. Nevertheless, as the championship leader effectively, although they've got the same number of points, they're ahead on race wins. They know that down in the fifth row of the grid, Raffaele Marcello and Michael Meadows are going to be very difficult to contain because they will want to come forward at the earliest opportunity. Whereas Alex Riberos is going to be feeling, well, you know, have I got the car I had before it got damaged?
Yeah, it was also worth pointing out that in qualifying 2, the Lexuses weren't as quick. They found this magic setup for qualifying 1, but the track is changing the whole time here. Anyhow, who else can go into the mix? The number 2 Audi most certainly can make its presence felt. Starting from 6th, Will Stevens will kick it off, sharing with Dries van Tor. And it really is, it's these battles of the manufacturers. So many different makes at the top. Lamborghini, Lexus, Audi, Mercedes, Audi. That's how it is at the top of the grid. And we know this team pairing can deliver. Just at the row ahead of them in 4th place, Simon Gachet and Christopher Haas. They've been really strong through the latter part of the Sprint Cup. With 2nd, 3rd and 4th, or 3rd, 4th and 2nd in the last couple of races. They will definitely be a feature too, getting in the way of the championship challenges, but that's their job, John.
Well, look, they're here to do a race. They're here to win the race if they can. They do the best for themselves, but principally for their team, and then for the brand that they're being supported by. Obviously, if there's a championship battle going on between the 88 Mercedes and the number 1 Audi, you don't want to get directly involved in it. If you're behind it, you sort of might get involved a little bit, but if you're ahead of it, well, you're just going to drive your own race, and that's what you are required to do. So Gachet and Hasse and that Audi in the 2nd row of the grid, that's probably the better of the 2 Audis. The number 1 we'd still wait to see, is it a work in progress, or have WRT got that car back to the standard and quality it was before the incident?
So just riding past row number 3, Nico Bastian will be starting in the 90 car he shares with Jack Manchester. He was on the left of the screen. And the 66 Audi, Stain shot horse getting better and better. Ezekiel Perez Companc likewise in the 19 Lamborghini alongside. The car equal lead in the lead of the championship. Number 88, you can see Michael Meadows will be starting down on the 5th row in 10th place. He's got a lot to do, but he's got to make sure he doesn't pick up damage at the first few corners and in turn gain a few places. It's all about points, and in this first race we have points only down to 6th place. He's got to make sure he gets among them.
Yeah, and of course on the opening lap into turn 1, always a major pinch point as you try to get into the apex. It's very narrow at the apex, although it's a very wide part of the racetrack. And then from turn 1 through the double left at turn 2, you can attempt to go the long way around and try and sneak into the apex in turn 3. It gets very congested. Those first 4 corners can either seal or otherwise the fate of your race.
You certainly can. You don't want to be backwards and coming forwards, but you don't want to go forwards and come out of it backwards, if you know what I mean. Right down the back of the grid, penultimate row, you can see the yellow and blue Kessel Racing Ferrari, TP12 Pro-Am points leaders, but only 1 position behind them on the grid, the challenging Santalot Racing Audi.
Yeah, they were pushed further back on the grid than they were. Actually, they were 18th, but there was a technical infringement, and when the car came in under a red flag, there was actually a computer plugged in, which is a complete and utter no-no. So that meant that the team were penalised, so they are at the back of the grid. So field shortly will get underway behind the safety car, and then this race will go live. It's going to be, I think, just 2:05 at the point when the lights go out.
So waiting for the start of formation laps, the familiar face or sector part of his face of Mirko Bortolotti, all concentrating, waiting for the signal. First chance to get a feel for the past 10 minutes of his 63 Lamborghini, the orange and green Grasser racing car starting from the left on the front row, weaving around, trying to gain every message he can, is Alex Riberas in the third place car, the number 1 Audi. Of course, this is the car that's been rebuilt since Christian Mies had the problem and shunted the car down at the hairpin during his qualifying session. It has left them in a qualifying position they don't want for race 2. It's right the way down in 14th position. That's going to be another story. Today, though, we focus on the final qualifying race of 2018 in the Sprint Cup. We've got, of course, the feature race tomorrow, and then the final round of the overall Blancpain Series and of the Blancpain Endurance Series, also in 2 weeks' time at Barcelona. Here is the 88 Mercedes on your screen, starting 10th today. They'd rather been at least 2 or 3 rows further up. So for Michael Meadows, who said he could hook together, he could set the sector times, but he couldn't hook them all together in the order he wanted.
No, what Michael Meadows needs to avoid is any contact. He's right in the heart of the field, and if there's going to be action, it's going to be around the area where that yellow and black Mercedes is. The car clearly has got pace, because in qualifying for race 2 on Sunday, that car set pole position time. So that was in the hands of Raffaele Marcello. Again, track temperatures, ambient temperatures, different to that we saw earlier in the morning. Much more overcast, looking around the Nurburgring. Probably no rain likely to fall, but of course you never know. Nurburgring has all 4 seasons in 1 hour, let alone in 1 day.
It certainly does. You always need a commentary box that gives you the biggest vision possible, because you might, if you're just looking out of a slot, just see what's in front of you. You need to see what's to either side, but I can report we can see the tower of the castle over Nurburg village. It has the final row of the grid. In fact, with Rinat Salikov, David Perel, that's the car that joined the championship again this weekend. They were the ones that had a computer plugged in. They were checking a gearbox problem, but hasn't moved them too far back. They are on the last position on the grid. But who is going to keep their noses clean? Which cars are going to stay neat and tidy and not lose positions through the first few corners? Certainly Mirko Bortolotti is determined there'll be 19 behind him when he accelerates up to turn 2.
The car that really has to stay out of all sort of problems is the number 1 Audi. Alex Riberas, here he is behind the wheel of the car that has been repaired by the WRT team. He is driving a car. He doesn't really know what he's going to get when the lights go out, but he needs to make sure he stays ahead of the 88 Mercedes. Now, that car is 100%, I guarantee you, but we don't know. That's my supposition based on the team and the ability to get things repaired. There is the 88 just coming into view, so he's 3 grids back, and it is so easy to maybe be a little bit imprudent when you should be thinking about the distance, not just the first lap.
And for the Emil Frey Lexus team, their number 14 Lexus is on the front row of the grid, dreaming of a podium result. If they can get their first win of the championship, they will be super made up, especially after yesterday. They were all over the place in practice, couldn't find it. Now waiting for the lights to go green, looking up at the starting gantry, the cars coming into the final corner, the right hand hairpin onto the start finish straight in their pairs, 10 pairs, 2x2 formation. They come around to the final corner. Lights on the gantry are red, waiting for them to go green. They won't. Now the cars are on the start finish straight. There are the green lights. Who's made the better stop? I fancy the number 1 Audi's made a belter. It's right under the tail. Alex Riberas right under the tail of Mirko Bortolotti, but nose in front around the outside, but he's going to have to back off. Is Costa coming up the inside? Christopher Haase running out of circuit. 4th becomes 6th, 7th, 8th, and I think the number 2 Audi with Will Stevens was in Vagels to go off the circuit as well. Good to see in the middle of the pack. The 88 Mercedes has not put a foot wrong. Michael Meadows trying to gain ground, and certainly looking very positive. Nico Bastian up into 3rd place for AKSP, going up the inside of Albert Costa, who's on the wrong position for turn 4 and is pushed back down to 4th place. Could be a place gained by Ezekiel Perez Compact, because driving on the grass is not the best way to go, John.
No, getting 3 into turn 5 will not work, but good start by the Lamborghini, consolidated its grid. The Lexus got a little bit elbowed back in 3rd place, but the battle with Nico Bastian and the 90 Mercedes, clearly Bastian sees an opportunity to seize another position. The Lexus goes very defensive, goes way out to the right hand side of the track, then comes back to the left, breaking down into turn 8. So group of 4 cars, and they are all nose to tail. Where is Michael Meadows? There he is.
I think he might have lost one, but what's happening is the first 2 cars are getting away, so Alex Riberas is doing everything he can to at least put maximum points in the pots in today's race, but it's only 8 points for victory today. It's 25 for victory tomorrow. Come on, May, he's got to get on the podium, he's got to keep that car in the hunt, and Michael Meadows down in, we think actually is still in 10th place. He's going to see what he can pick up. Pro-Am class leader just going out of shot, it's Piti Birambakti. And behind it's some quite robust stuff. We've already seen, I think, Niels Stevenart pushed out over the side of the circuit. He stays back on, and it's tidy. So the 2 runners for the Sansalok Audi that started with Simon Gachet, not Christopher Haas, from 4th place. We saw it going deep into the first corner, going wide, took another Audi with it, which we think was Will Stevens. So they've lost a bit of ground, but certainly Mirko Bortolotti did absolutely everything right.
Yeah, good start by the number 1 Audi to get that second place and get ahead of the Lexus. That was going to be a problem car. There's got good straight line speed. But Alex Ribera, as we saw coming down in the turn under the start, right under the rear wing of the Lamborghini as we go further down the field. And the 66 having to go defensive against the BMW coming down in 55 into turn 1. And then you've got the two Mercedes, Nicolas Jamin and Michael Meadows. Michael Meadows really getting sort of bogged in that middle pack and not able to make any progress, certainly not at this pace.
Yeah, not at this pace. He lost 1 position. In fact, he probably lost about 2 or 3 because the 2 Audis that had the clash in the first corner or ran off the circuit should be behind him. No, Stevens is ahead, so Stevens lost a little bit of ground, but not as much. And certainly the big loser there was Simon Gachet, who is 20th and last. Out front, an advantage which is over a second. Mirko Bortolotti ahead of Alex Riberas, then a gap of another 1.2 seconds back to Albert Costa, who's holding up the train of cars behind, but holding on to 3rd place. As I said before the start, if he can get a podium position, that would be fantastic for Emil Frey Lexus Racing.
Here we see again, look, the 3rd car, that front 3 cars gets down the inside. The Lexus just simply overruns, partly because the Lamborghini likewise overrun and took the Lexus with it. And that's what really opened up the opportunity for Alex Ribera to get up the inside and try and get as close to the back of the Lamborghini as he had been as he came down into turn 1. And now there's Nico Bastian, who momentarily gets the Mercedes ahead of the Lexus, but on the wrong part of the racetrack and being effectively pushed right out onto the grass. Then coming through down the hill to turn 6, the field just makes its way side by side and back to the action.
Back to the action, still with Mirko Bortolotti leading the way from Alex Riberas. Albert Costa holding the title in his pocket, shared with Jack Manchester. He's running 4th, he's got ahead. Right behind him he's got Ezekiel Perez Compact, who's made a really good start, up from 8th to 5th.
But also Norman Siedler in the second on the Nexus. He's now right on the rear of the 88 Mercedes-Benz. As Gottlieb Grasser looks intently down at timing and scoring. Focus on the gap between 1st and 2nd now, 1.6 seconds to the advantage of the 63 Lamborghini.
And really impressive run from Lucas Morais, looking at the BMW, the one and only BMW entered by 3Y Technology, running in 9th place. That really was a leap up the grid for him. Gained 2 places, got ahead of Michael Meadows. There is Michael Meadows, equal in the lead of the championship on points. We'll get down to the minutiae of the fact that the number 1 Audi crew is equal on points, but has 2 wins to the 88 crew's 1 win. But again, running wide outside of the circuit. But that he's under a lot of pressure from that 114 Norbert Siedler driven Lexus. Not what he wants.
No, Norbert Siedler has made progress. He's made a couple of places on board with Michael Meadows. I mean, you can see a lot of amount of steering correction that he's having to input into and making an adjustment down to the side of his leg. I don't know if that's a brake adjustment or not, but anyway, he's got Norbert Siedler directly behind him, and in that last lap Norbert Siedler was 7/10 of a second quicker than Michael Meadows, who of course himself is boxed in with traffic ahead.
So yeah, well, it's not so much boxing in
place.
As if you look, John, just ahead of him, the gap to Nico Jamin, his teammate, is actually stretching out because Mike was looking backwards rather than forwards at the moment. So the second half of the grid, nose-to-tail stuff, as we expect in Nurburgring. And we see Simon Gachet has picked off his own teammate, so Neil Stevenart, who's only 3.5 points down in the Pro-Am honours, is now at the tail of the field. Gachet will pick his way up the order, but it's going to be difficult. He should be just coming into the background of the shot, just is behind the TP12 Ferrari.
Norbert Siedler on the headlight flasher, saying to Michael Meadows, I'm quicker than you, I'm going to come through, looking to go down the one side, but he couldn't really find that route back to this battle now that's taking place for 2nd place. Lexus, Albert Costa seemingly regrouped, now picking up pace, showing the kind of pace that we saw in qualifying, and maybe beginning to pull. He is pulling away from the 60 Mercedes of Nico Bastian and thinking about, well, I'd rather have 2nd place in the podium than have 1st place. This would be manna from heaven.
It certainly would.
For the ASP team if they were to see the number 1 Audi lose that 2nd place, because the Lexus right now looks as if it can hold coming through turn 3, certainly able to hold a much tighter line around almost 2 wheels inside the apex rather than on the outside of it.
But, and there always is a but, it's a black and white warning flag to car number 14. Yes, the Lexus we've just been talking about for exceeding track limits. It's just dropped off our screen as well, and in fact others are being warned for exceeding them at turn 4, the corner we just saw Albert Costa going wide off the left hand side of the circuit. They're all doing it. 17 and 19 have also been warned. That's Stuart Leonard, and 19 Ezekiel Perez Compang.
Well,
Raffaele Marciello, well, he's not got a smile on his face, but
well,
the
that's
car
a
is
smile,
still
isn't it? By his normal standards, that's a smile. So let's look and see just where Norbert Siedler pushing very hard in the rear of the 88 Mercedes-Benz. You can't really get an awful lot closer unless you want to make contact, and that's not something that's going to do either of those two cars any good. But certainly at the minute, the 114 Lexus appears at the greater pace than the 88 Mercedes does.
Just looking to see if there's any gains from Albert Costa. He was third, but pushing for second place very hard, pushing the number 1 Alex Riberas driven Audi. It was absolutely almost identical times in the first sector, difference of just 2/1000ths of a second. With your Riberas, it's important because you were the one that was 2/1000ths of a second faster. The gap between them just under half a second. In fact, it's come down a tiny little bit. Yes, just under 0.3 of a second now.
Well, a look up the inside, it was never really on because Riberas was sufficiently far ahead to be able to take his line, but nonetheless the intent from Albert Costa is clear, and he feels that he's got the quicker of these two cars. But this is the same old story. Wherever you look, you can catch, but can you find a way through? He's certainly going to have a look again down the inside into turn 1. Too far back to make it of any value, but it's just trying to create distraction from Alex Riberas to keep him looking in his mirrors and thinking negatively and thinking backwards and thinking forward. Nick Bastian, by the way, just said, I think it was
just about to say,
a new lap record.
He's just coming into the back of the shot, but for Christopher Mies, he's just relieved the car is out there racing. The fact he's holding down second position is wonderful news from his point of view. Lap record was previously 1 minute 56.385. It's now 1 minute 56.249. That is a really impressive lap from Bastian. He knows the circuit. And there he is in the number 90 Mercedes. He's got clear air behind him. Back to Ezekiel Perez Compang, who's running a very good race in 6th place. Staying Shotthurst, we heard from him before the start of the race. And behind Will Stevens. Will got caught up in that first corner incident, but was very quickly back onto the circuit, whereas Simon Gachet in the number 25 Sansalot Racing Audi, he shares with Christopher Haase, rejoined the race. He went much further off the circuit at turn 1. He rejoined the race in 20th. He's now up to 19th, trying to get past Salikov, but for him, the good points have gone.
The gap between first and second is hovering around 1.8 seconds. Although Marco Bortoloni got the run and got the advantage at the start, he's not actually managed to stretch that advantage much more than he's done over the last, since the lights went out. But again, it's Albert Costa who's doing everything he can, trying to find a way to put himself into a position to get up alongside Alex Riberas in the number 1 Audi, but Riberas isn't about to give it up. He knows he needs to get maximum points, even though the points are relative to the event on Sunday, the smaller of the two. But there is the view from the number 1 Audi into the final turn. You've got to get the front of the car in, get a late apex, get on the throttle, not overrun on the exit of the corner, because that then will lose your time. Back across the line for the 5th time.
Better lap for Alex Riberas. He gained 0.2 of a second, a little bit more. Still looking at the face of Raffaele Barcelo. His car, the championship challenging car, is still down in 11th. It's half a second down on Nico Jamin, actually slightly closing in there, but 11th means no points. In fact, anything from 7th place down means no points.
Yeah, interestingly, the gap between first and second has closed down by all of 0.2 of a second, but that is the pace that Alex Riberas is being forced into, primarily because of the pace of the number 14 Lexus behind. But the gap had been 1.8 seconds, the penultimate of lap before, now down to 1.6. I don't think it's an issue or a concern or a problem for the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. It's just the fact that the Lexus is forcing Alex Riberas to run harder than maybe they had imagined.
I think so too. I think it's also Mirko Bortolotti thinking it's all right. I'm feeling good. The car is feeling fine. Keep the tyres as sweet as you possibly can. But I really just want to talk now, John, about Emil Frey, Lexus Racing, because they didn't know what was happening yesterday. They just couldn't find any traction for the car, and Albert Costa could not believe. He thought they were joking. The team was joking when he said, "Congratulations, you qualified second." Not such a good session for them in the second session. The fact they seem to have found a good race pace just shows how the engineers must have worked so hard last night, come up with the correct answers to the questions that are being asked.
Yeah, there is Ezekiel Perez Compact being chased by the 66 Stein Stuttenhorst. And that's a battle that has been developing. Just 1.1 seconds
the
behind
Rinaldi Racing Ferrari has taken a tumble.
Oh dear! Big, and that's going to be
hit the back of Pitty Birenback, the straight into the class leader,
straight into the back of him. That's going to be a momentary, sort of be a full course yellow initially, and then it'll ultimately go to a safety car. So that was
that was unfortunate.
Two Pro-Am drivers getting together, and that's going to take a minute or two. That car has got to be removed by a recovery vehicle. You can see the right rear suspension completely misaligned, as is the bodywork.
Yeah, well,
still waiting to see, Bruce. Waiting to see whether we're going to get a full course yellow.
Yeah, no message on the screen as yet, but that was clearly quite a lot of damage to Piti Birabakhti's car.
Another new lap record goes to number 14, Albert Costa, 156.193. Lap record's been tumbling pretty much since this race got underway. We're on the 7th lap.
Full course yellow. There's the signal. That's what you can see the damage on the back. So either up the inside to spin it round. Went to Renat Salikov, but unfortunate for Piti Birabakhti. He and Carlo Van Dam have been leading the Pro-Am honours all season. Here we are at the fifth and final round. Still got tomorrow's race. They may yet get away with it, but it's going to be very difficult indeed after that incident. Neil Stevenart now leading the race in the Pro-Am class. He's in 18th place overall. The 18th, 19th and 20th, but unfortunately the 39 Ferrari, the TP12 Kessel racing car, as we can see, damaged and out of the race.
Rather amusingly, we can see on the Lamborghini we've got the hazard lights. I've never seen a racing car have a hazard warning light adapt in the car. So there it is. Lamborghini, it's at the rear of the car. You can see the orange light flashing.
So as they stand, Alex Riberas and Christian Mies, Riberas still at the wheel in second place on the track. They will take 86 points, or end up on 86 if they finish. Bortolotti and Engelhardt will now move ahead of Marcello and Meadows into second place. There they are leading the race. Engelhardt waiting to take over in the second part of the race. And Meadows not in the points. He's down in 11th place on the track. Marcello, we've seen him in the pit garage. He'll be very frustrated indeed. It looks like they're not going to get points in this race. But hey, look at the clock. We've got full course yellow. We've still got more than 3/4 of an hour of racing. But unfortunately for Michael Meadows, he lost a place or two on the opening lap, fell down from 10th to 11th, and has not been able to advance thus far from there.
And what's even worse for the idiot Mercedes is if positions remain as they are now until the end of this race, then this car, the 63 Lamborghini, is going to elevate itself from third up to second in the championship. So a lot to be concerned about in the 88. Oh, careful. So we've got the car pulled away to safety, away from the actual racetrack. I don't know whether they intend to remove it from there behind the barriers, but it's certainly been pulled away from the racetrack.
Well, not too surprisingly, look at the damage. There's the message on screen. Car 333, that's Renat Salikov's Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Incident with car 39, which is Piti Birabakhti's Ferrari, in turn 8, the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, is under investigation. From the damage of the car, it wasn't a gentle tap. So most unfortunate for the driver from the family that own the Singer Brewery. He's having his second season in Europe and was looking very good. So on left of screen, Andrea Caldarelli. On right of screen, the Grasser Racing Garage with a smile because his car's leading the race. Is Christian Engelhardt, of course.
Christian Engelhardt will be happy with the situation. Pit lane will be open in literally 10 minutes. They're not obliged to come in at that point.
Rinaldi Racing Ferrari has just made it back to the pits. Unfortunately, the only way that the 39 Ferrari, the TP12 car of Piti Birabakhti, will get back is on the back of a flatbed truck, such as the damage to its right rear corner. Can't see any particular damage to this one, but they're going to investigate. Out comes the trolley jack. That most likely swung into the garage for investigation.
Damage on the front of the Ferrari.
It should be front left, shouldn't it? Any damage?
They'll be put on the dollies and pushed back into the garage. Its race is complete for this afternoon as the field makes its way down. There you can see right front. And just
need to go around to the other side of the front. Safety car shouldn't be out for too long because they've managed to drag the blue and yellow Kessel Racing Ferrari away. Piti Birabakhti will be furious, no doubt, and just massively frustrated. His first season was a learning season. This second season he was looking set fair, but it was very close on points, it must be said. But he was doing the thing he needed to do. He was leading the Pro-Am class in this race, ready to take the maximum order of points, and now quite clearly he won't be. Looking for other changes up and down the order. Let's just go down the order, in fact. Mirko Bortolotti leading in the 63 Lamborghini behind the safety car. Second place, Alex Riberas. That was a very good start from them. Got the jump on Albert Costa in the number 14 Lexus. The Lexus has been fighting back. Fourth place, the drivers who've already clinched the Silver Cup honours. You can see their black and grey, silvery grey Mercedes in the middle of the shot. They're just in front of the green Lamborghini, which is Ezekiel Perez Compact. It's Nico Bastian in the 90 Mercedes, who's tucked in behind Albert Costa's Lexus. Sixth place, just at the shot now, Stein Schotthorst in behind him. number 2 Audi is Will Stevens. And then we have the other Peter Schotthorst in the 55 Attempter Racing Audi, and Lucas Moraes. Great run. The BMW M6 has just not been really the car to have thus far this season. It's got a new team this weekend because Dennis Dupont has stepped across from racing in the TCR, sort of touring car silhouette championships around the world. And Nico Jamin is holding down 10th place overall, 1 position ahead of the driver. But if the car finishes as it is, will not score any points and will go from 2nd in the championship down to 3rd. That's Michael Meadows in the 88 Mercedes.
So the field still running under a safety car now. The safety car is on track. You can see it coming through turn 13. We've had a full course yellow, and that lets everybody get into control. Then under the safety car, then everybody can then close up to the tail. Great news for us. Obviously, Mirko Bortolotti will need to be on his toes.
Well, let's go down to the pit lane because Piti Bhirombhakdi knocked off the track and Dakota has caught up with his teammate, Carlo Van Dam.
Carlo, now unfortunately we didn't see it, but do you know what happened?
Well, I haven't seen it myself, but Piti said he got touched on the back. Obviously, I saw the other 333 car also out of the circuit, so I guess something happened between the two of them, and it's a shame because we were just focusing on finishing the race. We're in great shape. And then, well, eventually race 1 ended up so quickly is very disappointed.
Is Piti all right in the car?
Technical problem there.
So there we have it, and that's Carlo being frustrated, but don't forget he has qualified an astonishingly good 5th overall on the grid for tomorrow's race. So the car will be repaired, and they will start many rows ahead of their championship rivals.
Yeah, I mean, it's the race 2 on Sunday's got an entirely different complexion on it compared to that we've seen so far here this afternoon at Nurburgring. It's still Lamborghini leading from Audi, leading from Lexus, then first of the Mercedes, and this is going to give everybody impetus. The person that's going to lose the most if he is in that position will unfortunately be Mirko Bortolotti. So when the safety car does eventually return to pit lane, he will have control of that chain of cars.
Okay, talking of the chain of cars, they need to get closer together, particularly the ones further back, because if Constantina's out and Michael Meadows needs to score points, he's down in 11th position. He wasn't even terribly close to Nico Jamin. There's the message, safety car in at the end of this lap. They're down at the bottom part of the circuit. They have got to start making progress, get close, because they cannot lose any more
You can
ground.
really get as close to the car ahead of you as the car ahead of you is as close to the next car down. So you can see the first 3-4 cars, in fact, all pretty much nose to tail, a bit of a gap then to the 19 Lamborghini of Ezequiel Perez compact. 5 minutes to go before the pit lane opens, so how many of these cars will take that opportunity for the early pit stop and give maybe, in the case, maybe the pro driver or the quicker of the 2 drivers the opportunity. Certainly in the case of the 88 Mercedes, I would imagine that will be one of the very first of the callers. Let Raffaele Marcello get behind the wheel and see if he can do any more to get the 88 up into a point scoring position.
Gottfried Grasser talking on the radio there, letting the drivers know, just reiterating the message. Look, the lights on the roof of the safety car should be out. It's coming in this lap. Think about the restart, Mirko. Mirko will be thinking of nothing else. And also, it could be another place possibly gained by Ezequiel Perez compact. Very good at the start of the race. He's 5th in that train of cars, and that could really help.
Watch the 63 car when it comes out of the chicane. It will go. There he is. He's on it. And he tried to get a jump on the Audi of the Lexus.
It's a big gap though between Jamin and Meadows. That's what I was talking about. It seemed to go out, so Meadows needed to be right under the tail of his teammate. Look, there's a gap behind the red Mercedes. Then comes the yellow and black one. That's the car that was in equal lead of the championship. Not looking for points this afternoon at the current rate, but Bortolotti controls the restart. The first 4 runners have it nice and plain. In fact, the only challenge is coming Will Stevens down the inside of Stein Schotthorst. So Schotthorst was actually slightly asleep to that. So advantage and full points there to Will Stevens for really getting his head switched on very nicely.
So again, you've got the same situation we had at the start of the race, that midfield group of cars all getting tripped over one another as they go through turn 3.
Place change there. Lucas Moraes lost out. Very quick run there from Nico Jamin. So he goes up to 9th place and his teammate stays in 11th. That's Michael Meadows. He's the one that needs to be doing the overtaking.
So Jamin comes out to try and get that backward defend into turn 5. Down the hill into turn 6. At the exit of turn 6, you've got to be careful. If you're on too wide, there's a big gravel trap on the outside. That's been noted. Nothing's come up so far in this race, but it is one of the areas where marshals or whether the race director will be looking to ensure drivers are not abusing track limits.
Down it's Dunlop hairpin. You could see Big push there from Nico Bastian, 4th place overall, trying to get onto the tail of Albert Costa. Certainly he's been coming good, and now it looks like we've had a swapping back of those orders.
Well, I think that's the 55, depends on the 60. I think the short horse in there, already round wide at the exit of turn 8, kicked up a bit of dust.
Yeah, but he's got back ahead of Stevens,
yes.
So he's regained the position. Now he's got his own teammate tucked in behind. Second of the short horse, Peter Short Horse tucked in behind, but for Will Stevens, must have thought well done, and unfortunately it changed back again.
And there you see all the way back behind the BMW still, the 88 Mercedes, and that is not going to be a good position. The BMW showing really good straight line pace coming up alongside the 87 Mercedes, but he's on the wrong side of the road to try and drive around the outside into the chicane, has to get out of the throttle, so Nicolas Jamin is able to consolidate. Again, look at 17, Stuart Leonard trying to do something with Norbert Siegler and the 114 Lexus as they come out of turn 16.
Very good exit from the final corner from the Albert Costa Lexus, but just super defensive. Covered on the inside by Rivera.
Once the undercut, Bruce, there's going to be an opportunity for the Lexus to get alongside. Alex Ribeiro just was able to get on the throttle enough to keep that, but again, the Lexus looking to go up the inside, coming down into turn 3. Can he stick the nose? He's been able to use a lot of the inside of turn 3 on previous laps, but now, again, wrong-footed, so you're swinging one way or the other, trying to find the undercut. Next opportunity, down the inside, into turn 5, being covered by Alex Ribeiro, but this time the Lexus almost alongside coming in, but again, wrong part of the racetrack for turn 6.
Well, this is all very, very good news for Mirko Bortolotti. He was 1.0 seconds clear at the start of the lap, and it's going to be stretched, his advantage in the lead of this race, because this is a fearsome battle for second place. Alex Ribeiro, the number 1 Audi, being pushed, harried, shoved around the circuit by the number 14 Lexus of Albert Costa. Enjoying the ride behind is Nico Bastian. Lights flashing on his Mercedes. He's sitting in there trying to do what he can to just see where they're strong, where they're weak. He's still got time, but the pit stop window is open in just over a minute. And don't expect Mirko Bortolotti to be coming in anytime soon.
No, the Lamborghini, I would imagine, will stay out until the latter part of the pit stop window closes. But I'm just waiting to see at what point will we have the 88, because that's got to be the car that's got the most to benefit by coming in early and letting Raffaele Marciello get in fresh rubber, go out, hopefully get out on a bit of racetrack where he hasn't got too many cars. He's got to find a way around and let him do what he does best, and that's just drive the wheels of that car.
In this second stint of the race, if you will, because we had before the safety car and afterwards, the front of the field is stretching out, but not the top 10 is stretching out. The battle for second, third and fourth most certainly isn't. Alex Ribeiro is holding on to second place in that number 1 Audi. He was 0.276 of a second ahead. He's now 0.384 of a second, so he's gained a tenth, but down the straights the Lexus looks very, very good. Of course, it's got a slipstream to use, not close enough to challenge into the first turn, but certainly close enough to really keep Alex Ribeiro right on his toes.
Yeah, Ribeiro is able to go in deep into turn 1 and still get the Audi to turn and still consolidate that second place. Pulls away a little bit going through turn 2, then coming into 3. The Lexus capable of holding of 8, as is the Mercedes, as is the lap. Everybody's now using the shortcut round the inside of turn 3. Wonder how long that'll go unnoticed before those signals saying do not abuse track limits at turn 3.
At this point in the race, Michael Meadows not able to take any gains out of the field ahead of him. Nico Jamin, his teammate in the red Mercedes, managed to get past the BMW of Lucas Moraes, but Meadows in 11th is still in 11th. He's not able to do so, and in fact he's starting to come under pressure all over again from the 114 Lexus of Norbert Siegler.
Yeah, it's not been a happy race so far for Michael Meadows. Pit stop window is open, so I just wonder, will this be the lap we'll see the 88 in, or am I just being a little bit pessimistic in my attitude?
Oh, you never know, John. You never know, but 14 Lexus started from the outside the front row, maybe had a little look at taking the lead. He had his nose in front, was on the outside line for turn 1, had to tuck in behind, but behind, unfortunately, also included being behind Alex Ribeiro, who moved from 3rd into 2nd. And there are the drivers already coming out onto the working lane in the pit, ready to have received the cars. That's those that should be the Lexus drivers, so they are just waiting. They're the drivers closest to pit entry. Closest to anybody in the race at the moment is his teammate Albert Costa, right under the tail of the number 1 Audi of Alex Ribeiro.
And Alex Ribeiro is the first of what we've seen of the callers into the pit lane, so the second place, and also Ezequiel Perez at the Audi. So 4 cars again. Michael Meadows not unreasonably making his way. It's going to be a busy pit lane. A lot of people coming in earlier than I thought, but this stop I hadn't anticipated. Alex Ribeiro, he's going to be handing over the car to Christopher Mies, who we know can do a miracle, or can perform miracles, not do a miracle, perform miracles when he's called upon. Michael Meadows getting a lot of flashing headlights from the second of the two Lexus. He can't go any quicker than the speed limit there, Raffaele Marcello. But here is the car that was in second place, stops. The board that says he stop here. So Christopher Mies helping get Alex Riberos out, and then the favour being returned. Likewise, the 88 Mercedes, Raffaele Marcello. It's going to be a battle of the pit stops to see who can get the cars down and rolling, get that wheel and tire across the white line before you roll. Oh, and both cars get rolling, but the benefit to the audio was at the end of the pit lane, and now he's got two cars between him and that number one Audi, and that will, again, look, the Lexus running behind. What's he flashing his lights for? It's a speed limit in the pit lane.
Yes, as if Raffaele Marcello just was choosing to go slowly and lose time the opposition. Of course he wasn't. That's about half the field that came in for the pit stop. Still leading the race, Mirko Bortolotti. There is Mirko Bortolotti. He was 2.3 seconds clear of the Lexus of Albert Costa. Costa had been third, but the Audi number one, Alex Riberos, pitted from second place, probably tired of being harried by Costa in the Lexus. But really, Mirko Bortolotti has looked comfortable in the lead of the race. He got clear, and as they were fighting behind, he didn't pull a great deal clear. He was 1.8 seconds clear, and it was pretty much that when the number one Audi came in to make its pit stop. In third place, Nico Bastian in the number 90 Mercedes in the ASP stable. He's got the bragging rights in that car. Bortolotti comes in, and again, that's earlier than we expected.
Earlier, but not. Maybe they're looking at saying, where will, not just about when we make our pit stop, more critically, where will we fall back into the field? And what they're considering is the pace of the number one Audi, which was the first of the pit stoppers. They will want to get this car back out and be ahead of the number one Audi when it comes round at the end of its first flying lap.
So the leader on the track now is the number 55 Audi, and at the wheel of that we've got Peter Schottenhorst right under his rear wing, Nico Jamin in the 87 Mercedes. But all eyes on the 63 Lamborghini's pit stop. Out hops Mirko Bortolotti, in clambers Christian Engelhardt. Of course, we want to see where it comes back out onto the circuit. It should be ahead of the number one Audi, and when that one comes around,
Bruce, more critically, Drassa Racing will be aware of the error that occurred. Cars down, no problems this time, so the car will be rolling. Slowish getaway for Christian Engelhardt. He's not too far from pit lane exit. There is the Audi coming down. He has to wait until he gets on full throttle. He's now on full throttle, so they've consolidated. But by the time they get into turn one, the gap between first and second is going to be more or less the gap prior to them going into the pit stop.
It was, I think we saw the Grasser crew just being slightly cautious. They didn't want to earn another drive-through penalty, and suddenly, who's just set the fastest first sector of anybody? He's only just taken over his car. It's Raffaele Marcello, championship challenger. His car listed in 13th position. It should pop back to about 11th position where it came in from, but just there's the intent from the Italian racer. There's his car. He's down the order, but he's determined to at least pick up the point for 6th place. It only goes down to 6th place in the qualifying race, the Saturday race for the Blancpain Sprint Cup. But it looks, as long as the exit was fine for 63, that Christian Engelhardt will be leading this race when everybody's made their pit stops, and they should pick the maximum point.
One lap ago, coming out of the pit lane, the 114 Lexus, there it is. Well, what's the 14? It's making the second place, is into the pit, though actually there was a race leader.
Sorry, of course, he hadn't pitted, nor had Nico Bastian, so when I said Peter Schottenhorst was leading the race, meaning...
But just to go back to what I was saying about the 88 Mercedes, coming out of the pit lane, the 114 Lexus was all over the rear, but flashing its lights. Now there's about a second and a half of a gap between that and the 88, so the pace of the... Well, I have to say the driver behind the wheel, Raffaele Marcello, clearly is able to pull away comfortably from Marcus Pantella in the sister car to the 14 now, Christian Klein about to take over.
But who's set now the fastest first sector of anyone? It's the other car that Katie are leading the championship. Christopher Mies, the number one Audi, has just gone even faster in the very long first sector. Great to have the Lexus in the mix, but the car that is going to be leading the race when Nico Bastian has finally come in from leading the race in the number 90 Mercedes. John, you enjoyed that getaway?
The Lexus leading the race because it's on the pit lane now, waiting to see it's coming down. Again, they've got these lights flashing. I don't know whether it's an automatic Mirko Bortolotti, and they're going to be coming out in third place. First two go through cleanly now. The Lexus makes its way out to Scott.
Well, he might come out behind the 19 Lamborghini, so he's lost a lot of ground.
Caldarelli will be following up as quickly as possible. Runs a little bit deep, and Caldarelli can get up alongside, and can he make it the long way around turn two? Remember, fresh rubber on the Lexus and different feel
Dries van Thor fancies a bit of the action in the number 2. That was very, very defensively done. And there we go. Van Thor was on. He's on the wrong line as they go to turn 4. He'll have to cede position. Back in 5th, but he gets a better exit, running wide off the circuit, trying to get heat into his tyres, but you don't get so much over there. Number 14, Lexus holding on to 4th, but only just. They dive down into turn 5. Van Thor had a look, showed his intent, and all along behind they've got another shot horse looking to get in on the action. But the big question to me, 11th place was the position listed for Raffaele Marciello. That's the position the car came in from, but last lap he was the fastest driver of all in this race. He's got to get himself uncorked.
Dries van Thor going to give Christian Klein a good old workout on the best he possibly can. Up the hill now, up through this very quick 120 miles an hour, 195 kilometers per hour S's. But the battle for the lead is getting closer. You can see there's barely anything between the lead Lamborghini and the second place Audi.
3 words at the top of the screen: pit window open. Who's taking advantage of that? Nico Bastian leading the race.
Dries van Thor, what a pass into turn 12. Outstanding overtake. Just caught Christian Klein completely unawares. But this battle, Christopher Mies running second now to Christian Engelhardt, and Christopher Mies was the driver, was in this car and had the incident this morning. He has had no ill effects whatsoever. He's closed the gap down between the lead Lamborghini and the second place Audi, compared to what we saw when they had the incumbents behind the wheel, Mirko Bortolotti and Alex Riveros.
Certainly did. So Nico Bastian continues to lead this race. Simon Gachet, who spun down, went wide at the first corner on the opening lap, is in second place. But the real leader is driver in the orange and green Lamborghini 63, Christian Engelhardt. Christian Mies all over the back with me, looking through Christopher's windscreen to see what Engelhardt is getting up to. But what he's not getting up to is escaping. It's very tight at the top, and again into the midsection, turn 3 parts of the Mercedes arena. You can see how hard Engelhardt is having to work, because all over his tail now is Christopher Mies. But the driver setting fastest lap of the race, Raffaele Marciello, was 11th. He's just gained 2 positions on the last lap, up to 9th. Needs to get up to 6th for points.
He will get one more because Bastian has yet to...
no, Bastian will pit and come out ahead. Simon Gachet will pit and come out behind.
So there's one more point, one more position, a freebie for the number 88 Mercedes, and thereafter it'll be just down to what Marciello can do. He's set new lap records pretty much every lap he's been behind the wheel. 155.988 is his best lap in race conditions, and that compared to qualifying is a little over a second away from where they were.
Dries van Thor has got a hand to play in this game as well, but he's in the number 2 Audi. The number 1 Audi is the one in second place. You can see it chasing Christian Engelhardt. Engelhardt seems to have settled down. The gap between them about half a second, with the car limping slowly into the pits. Of course, it's the one that hasn't made the pit stop yet, or one of the 2. It's Nico Bastian, the shortest German driver, being replaced by the driver who's 20 today, the much taller British figure of Jack Manchester. How they share a car without moving the seats, I do not know. Jack's obviously happy to drive with his knees right up around his chin. Simon Gachet and the Sansalot Racing Audis coming in. We'll see where they slot back into the mix. The Nico Bastian Jack Manchester car could be as high as 4th place, where they're running in the first half of the race. Could be even higher, depends how good those last few laps were from Nico Bastian. But certainly here is the lead battle coming into the background. In fact, he could almost get out ahead of them. No, not quite. Of course, it's much longer to the pit lane exit.
So the 2 lead cars are coming through. Jack Manchester is going to slot into 3rd position ahead of Andrea Caldarelli. In the meantime, fastest race lap has now been to Dries van Thor, 155.688. Best overall first and second sector. Stunning lap altogether. And that car currently number 2, Audi in 6th place.
Wow, that is one heck of a lap. So out into 3rd position goes Jack Manchester on his 20th birthday. Was being quite cautious when he left the pits. He's got Caldarelli behind him, and I think, unfortunately for Manchester, there will be a place change. But if he can pick up a podium result, top for a 3rd position this race, it will be an astounding performance. But Nico Bastian, what a great performance. But as you can see, that 90 Mercedes has got company, very, very close company indeed, with Andrea Caldarelli all over his tail.
So it's Kelvin van der Linde in the Audi, and that's not going to be an easy pass for Raffaele Marciello. Van der Linde's been one of the drivers who really has, I think, starred in the Audi so far this season. And down the hill, Marciello isn't close enough to even think about a pass, but it's all about momentum. You don't necessarily always run under the rear wing of the car that you're chasing, because that just means you're going to run at their pace. So if you can focus on the battle that's just directly ahead with Christian Klein and Kelvin van der Linde as we go up the hill, and a pass almost from Nico Bastian, not quite able to get it done, but up the inside.
He tried to fight back. Caldarelli just got past him. Unfortunately, car 37 is off track and has stopped at turn 12. So third place, fourth place, fifth place, very tight indeed. Another change of position.
Ahead of Bastian.
So out of Manchester, Manchester's taken it over. So Dries van Toor up into fourth place. And said he could have a role to play in this race, but certainly for the two teams at the top, Grasser Racing Team and the team that's hoping to pick off its 6th consecutive team's title here for Team WRT. They should be smiling. Both got 2 cars in the top 4.
I mean, the way they said races have to flow, the number 1 car currently in second place in a point scoring position. Car 88 still running in not 8th position now that all the pit stops have been washed through. So 2 positions away from getting a single point. And Kelvin van der Linde will be a mighty difficult task.
He certainly will, and for Raffaele Marcello.
Marcello goes wide into turn 1, gets onto the gravel, he just caught the yellow nose of the Mercedes running wide, so that was probably an attempt to overtake the Audi and so on, all wrong. So any possibility of that car getting into the points at all has now been completely, because it's now back behind the...
So there we are, that's Adam Christodoulou who's moved past in the red Mercedes, background of the shot, and it was wide at turn 1 for Raffaele Marcello, trying something, it didn't go right, he lost position, he lost a lot of ground, and he lost probably a point chance of points.
Indeed, well, it's going to make his challenge to get any further up the field even more difficult. Adam Christodoulou in the 87 has managed to slip through, and that was, I think, Raffaele Marcello doing all he could to find a way past Kelvin van der Linde in the 66 Audi down into turn 1. It's the obvious place on the racetrack to make your pass, but if you get it wrong, then the gravel travelers waiting there, arms welcoming you into it.
Now Christian Engelhardt starting to stretch clear in the lead of the race. Third place, Andrea Caldarelli in this car, the number 19 Lamborghini, and he's starting to drop Dries van Toor. Dries had a bit of a white rider a couple of corners ago, then falling back. There's Dries in the background with shot. Oh, actually quite a lot closer now. He's had a better middle sector. Fifth place, Jack Manchester. He lost ground with the last time. He's got Christian Klein coming towards him in the Lexus, but at the moment clear track for Jack Manchester, both before and after. This is the fourth place, Dries van Toor. He's not finished, he wants a podium.
I mean, Dries van Toor just showing real skill, real pace, coming from further down through the field, closing up to the back of Andrea Caldarelli, coming down pit straight. Same power unit in these 2 cars, Lamborghini and Audi, are part of the VW. Audi were a global platform, so it goes the long way looking to think about cutting back, but just getting what Dries van Toor is doing is ultimately looking for position, not for turn 2, not even for turn 3, principally for the exit of turn 4, to think about making a maneuver down into turn 5, getting closer and closer to the back of the Lamborghini, but probably not close enough to make anything work on this lap into turn 5.
So as they stand, if the race stopped now, Alex Riberas and Chris Vermees, they're second on the track, 86 points. That will give them a 10-point lead. Raffaele Marcello and Michael Meadows will stay back, they move back into second place, and Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt into third. That's how they were before the start of the race. But before the start of the race, Riberas and Mees, Marcello and Meadows were equal on points. This hasn't been a great run for the number 88 Mercedes. There it is, yellow Mercedes. It's just gained a position, got past Adam Christodoulou. I don't know if that was a give or not, but they are teammates after all. So hunting down a point, but not in them yet. Certainly it's been disappointed for Marcello and Meadows in that 88 ASP Mercedes.
Christian Engelhardt able to comfortably hold off Christopher Mees, but this battle for third place is going to be a more a tougher battle, let's say, for Andrea Caldarelli, with Dries van Toor clearly the quicker of the 2 cars, but of course once again getting caught behind, then all that pace that you have. Look down the inside, and that was
Christopher Haas making
Robert
a move.
Finn's not about to let that one go easily.
You look at his career record, he doesn't have a habit of giving places away. I think we can say that very safely. But actually 2 of the quicker drivers in the Audis down towards the tail. They're behind the second of the Lexuses. That's the one with Marcus Paltler, the Finnish driver, on board. 11th, 12th, 13th. But I think there's some overtaking to come. Leading the race by 1.1 seconds. The gap has actually come down slightly. Chris Vermees starting to close in second.
And just look at Dries van Toor also starting to close in on the rear of the Lamborghini. Not really sufficiently close to think about moving down the inside. Stays out on the left to give himself the better opportunity on the exit as the Lambo runs wide, but manages just to get back in on time to shut that particular door. But clearly Dries van Toor making Andrea Caldarelli drive in his mirrors to see, and I mean literally up the rear, on the rear wing. Of course the Lamborghini able to accelerate that fraction earlier, gets the advantage coming through turn 4, probably will be able to maintain it all the way down this short straight into turn 5.
So if you've just switched on, missed the first part of the race, it's been fireworks from the start. Mirko Bortolotti led away from pole, kept it clean. Behind there was a challenge for the lead and then second place. And still the 63 Lamborghini in the lead of the race. We have lost two of the two Ferraris though. Rinat Salikov had a clash down at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill with the Pro-Am class leader, Piti Birambakti. Hopefully they will both be back for tomorrow's race, but out of the race. Dennis Dupont on his Blancpain debut was also pulled to the side of the circuit. He is out of the race. He was in the 3-wide technology BMW. He was driven so well by Lucas Morais in the first half of the race, getting as high as I think 8th or 9th position, but that has parked at turn 12.
So still focusing on this battle for third place. Dries van Voor's done pretty much all he can do. Looks like Christian Engelhardt managed to ease that gap between first and second. It was when they came across the line on the last lap, just 1.1 seconds. Probably going to be much the same. And the gap between third and fourth, well, its last lap across the line was just under half a second. Looks slightly further than that as they come up into the chicane. But Dries van Voor very good on the brakes in the Audi, catches Andrea Calderelli. Then into this final turn, holds the tighter line. Gottfried Terrassa watching intently. His car's running currently in first and third.
First and third be a very, very good points haul. Give them, give them a chance to edge slightly closer in the team's title race. They're not there in third position. That's between Acker ASP and the team that's leading Team WRT on the team's championship. But right now, let's focus on the simple lead for the race in this Lamborghini Audi lead battle, and the Lamborghini battle that we're looking here with an Audi over third place as well, and Andrea Calderelli holding off Dries van Voor, but Dries taking more and more radical lines in his attempt to upset him into turn 4. He'll take a different line. There is the race leader, Christian Engelhardt, tucked in behind, but about 1.5 seconds behind, not making any progress now. Chris Release, there is the battle for third place. Calderelli right on his tail, Dries van Voor. That is much, much spicier.
I mean, the reality is the first 4 cars are all running, I think, an identical engine.
I thought we just had place change. In fact, we have. Jack Manchester has dropped back down 3 positions. He's let the Lexus come through. Christian Clean. He's got Kelvin van der Linde, and now Raffaele Marcello 1 position away from the points. No, 2 positions. Yeah, 1 position away from the points, up to 7th place. He's hunting down van der Linde all over again,
crossing everything in the pit lane to get this 88 Mercedes to get it into the point scoring. Even if they get just 1 point, remember they'll get another point from pole position for Sunday's,
but they didn't. They got pit right at the end. Lucas stole that point.
Indeed, you're right.
The Black Falcon. Right. So it might just seem like 1 point, but they all add up. And certainly getting very, very tight in the midfield order there. Great to see Pierre Caffer in the 55 Attempto Racing Audi. He's just behind the red Adam Christodoulou Mercedes that's tucked in behind Jack Manchester. But the good thing for the Acker ASP team is the fact that Raffaele Marcello has moved up closer to the points. The points come 8, 6, 4, 2, 1 for the top 6 finishers today. Tomorrow the points all go all the way down to 10th place, but this is the one you've just got to pick up points in.
And still harrying Kelvin van der Linde in the Audi, looking to make a move up the inside. Van der Linde has to go defensive into the final turn. That might give an opportunity for Marcello to make the pass down the inside and the exit. He's going to be in the pound seat when it comes getting down the pit straight into turn 1. Van der Linde closing the 2 cars, almost door handle as they come down pit straight.
He'd already made the move. He was 0.011 of a second, 11 thousandths of a second ahead on the start-finish line, but importantly, he had the position for the first corner. He's run a little bit wide, should be able to squeeze back over. So, place gain, well done. Van der Linde will be fighting back, but that was super positive. Don't forget, was it 2 laps ago, John?
Yeah, but
Marcello lost all the ground. He caught them back up, and he's made that move very well done.
That all came from a poor exit out of the chicane for Kelvin van der Linde. That gave the opportunity back to Raffaele Marcello to use his car to position it, and ultimately in turn 16 had the optimum exit line, got on the throttle earlier, side by side, and then controlled the entry into turn 1.
It's getting quite interesting down towards the tail of the field. We've got various drivers moving up after the early incidents. Christopher Haas is picking up positions. He was 13th. I think he's just gone up to 12th. He's got Franks right with him as well. Jack Manchester falling back down the order a little bit now. Can't match the pace. These drivers have been racing GT3 cars for years. This is his first season since racing Radicals, and only his second full season of racing, so doing a good job. But when the pros start coming through, they get through. Freaks in the grey car in the middle of the screen, and Christopher Haas as close as you can get, and then some perhaps. Down the inside goes Haas. He's had a very good end to his season.
I mean, he didn't have a lot of room. He couldn't go any further to the right, so he had to take the line he was on, but he got the track position again through the exit of turn 4 and put himself ahead of Robin Fiends and Jack Manchester in the 90 Mercedes.
What's quite remarkable is the huge gap back from that third place battle. Cordarelli, there he is in the bright green, number 19 Lamborghini, in behind Dries van Toor. Then it was 9 and a bit seconds back to Christopher Kleen, who again is actually just keeping that car in a very strong position. 5th place overall, should just about, well, in a few more seconds come into the background of the shot. In fact, maybe not. This duo going down towards the first turn and just coming through the final turn now, an accelerated start-finish line is the Lexus in 5th place. Christian Kleen, it's got Raffaele Marciello a second down on him, now up into the points in 6th place.
So this battle, we've got a battle for first and second positions, a battle for third and fourth again. Dries van Toor using all the racetrack and some of the grass on the inside of turn 3, looking yet again on the edge of the 4 to put himself sufficiently close to the rear of the Lamborghini, as we wait to see whether Caldarelli will have to be defensive in the entry into turn 5. He doesn't feel the need. Now coming down the short little bit between 5 and 6, and here the run down the hill. But again, as I say, between the Audis and the Lamborghinis, identical power units, so there's no gain or loss there. It's just the cars aerodynamically are slightly different, and the other is the construction methods.
And all of this battling between the third place fighters, Cordarelli and Van Toor, is music to the ears of Christopher Mies in 2nd place overall, being enjoyed from the pit lane by Will Stevens. His car is in 2nd, 4th place. There it is, the number 2 Audi, and he's enjoying the battle. But this is great news for Christopher Mies, running 2nd, not able to challenge the race leader, 1.3 seconds away from Christian Engelhardt. But in terms of augmenting his championship lead over the challenging number 88 Mercedes, this is good news indeed. He's gained 5 points on it in this race alone. But don't forget, he needs to, because tomorrow that number 1 Audi will be starting from 14th on the grid. Whereas Raffaele Marciello will start on the front row. We're riding with Marciello now, John. What are we seeing?
Down through turn 12, down the hill through the flat-out kink at 13. Gap between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini when they came across the line the last time was just a second. But now he comes through the chicane, the gap's probably not much different. It's going to be here in the final turn that if Marciello can make any improvement. The Lexus has come alive this weekend. I mean, it's struggled on Friday. On the inside, Dries van Toor pushes. Oh, now that was clumsy. Caldarelli either wasn't using his mirrors or chose to ignore. Didn't need to make that contact. The Audi was clearly alongside. You could see the reaction from the team, the Grasser Racing team. They're disappointed in it.
Well, all this could actually, if they carry on like this, suddenly become very good news for Raffaele Marciello, and very, very bad news indeed for the number 1 Audi crew. They're running 2nd in the race.
Is the rear wing on the Audi damaged? I thought it looked like there's a bit of a movement, a wobble on it, but Caldarelli not at all impressed with that move by Dries van Toor. And I think he's, to put it bluntly, his dander is up.
I think so too. Warning flag, black and white warning flag. Let's take a look at the
okay.
He's late.
It's a late move, but by the time they get into the corner, they're just about wheel to wheel. In fact, he's ahead. Caldarelli, in fairness, had begun his turn in, and Dries van Toor had no option. He was just going to go straight. So the contact occurred. I think they may feel that was. Initially, my reaction was that Caldarelli was at fault, but he had committed to turning in. But Dries van Toor, he was there, he had nowhere else to go. He was committed, and he had to slow the Audi down at some point.
Well, just going to point out, Christopher Haas has been given the black and white flag in Audi number 25 for disrespecting the track limits. He's the driver trying to make up ground. His teammate Simon Gachet was challenging at the front of the race to turn 1 in the opening lap, went down to dead last. That car has advanced to 11th place, hunting down the second of the Lexuses of Marcus Paltala at the moment. Here's the first of the Lexuses, that is Christian Kleen in 5th place overall. This will be this car's best result this year in the Sprint Cup. But who's behind him? Raffaele Marciello, the driver who, as soon as he got in the car, started breaking the lap record. The gap between them, well, you can see it, it's not a great deal. They're both in the points, 1 point for 6th, 2 points for 5th, and Marciello is desperate for every point he can get, and the intent is plain to be seen.
Watch again to see if he can do the same as he did to the Audi a little while ago with Carl van der Linde. Got the pace off the corner, accelerating just bit by bit. It's like a couple of trucks on the motorway, barely able to pass one another, but the Mercedes has the momentum, but more importantly, has track position coming down into turn 1. Christian Kleen unable to come back. This time, Raffaele Marciello does not need to overrun the corner. A number of laps ago, he went wide trying to get past the 66 Audi and paid the penalty. Now he's found himself up into 5th place. Again, 2 points for 5th place as against the 5, is it for 2nd? 4?
It's 6 for 2nd place, so it's a 4-point deficit. It could have been so much worse when his teammate Michael Meadows was stuck down just outside the top 10, 11th place he was in the first half of the race. 11th place when he came into the pits, but Marcello has been magical. That's as high as he can go because we've got 8.5 minutes remaining. He's 7 and a bit seconds down on that battle for third place. At the moment, it's in third place, Dries van Tor, down to fourth place, Andrea Cordarelli after the clash. Now, a replay going up the inside of the Lexus. When they crossed the start-finish line, the gap between them was smaller than the blink of an eye. But coming down, of course, you're going to brake as late as you possibly can. Listen to this as he gets into the braking zone.
Well, I mean, he's using engine braking, brakes to brake. I mean, there wasn't a lot left in the tank in terms of getting the Mercedes slowed down. The key for that overtake was, again, the exit of turn 16, but ultimately having track position, being on the right-hand side of the track, being fairly and squarely alongside, and then finally ahead of the Lexus. Christian Engelhardt still pushing hard. He's not comfortable. He's got a 2-second advantage now over Christopher Mies, who I think has probably been advised by the pit lane, look, we're not going to catch or overtake the number 63 Lamborghini. Consolidate. We've got good points. Well done, considering what this car went through a little bit earlier in the day, down at the bottom of the hill into turn 8. So that will be a result, and they will keep the number 1 Audi of Christopher Mies and Alex Riberas ahead. Instead of being equal on points, they will now be clearly ahead in the championship, with one more round in the sprint championship to go on Sunday afternoon.
Well, all great points to be picked up. 8-6-4-2-1 points for the top 6 places. You can see the midfield is a very, very crowded place to be. Christopher Haas in that white and blue Audi trying to pick his way forward. Robin Friens tucked in behind. They won't. This is alien ground for them. They're in 11th and 12th positions. Good reason for particularly the Haas car to be at the back, down towards the midfield, because it went to the tail of the grid. Not the tail of the grid, the tail of the field on the opening lap. But up front, as the points are being totted up in the pit lane, it's Christian Engelhardt leading the way in that 63 Lamborghini. 2.5 seconds clear, because Christopher Mies, taking it gently, doesn't have to push too hard. He's got a 4.5 second advantage over his own teammate, Dries van Tor. Yeah, you can be sure that there will be instructions that if Van Tor's getting close, he's not going to be getting past, because all the points that the number 1 Audi crew can score are absolutely essential to build this championship lead going into tomorrow, the final round of the 2018 Sprint Cup.
I mean, it'll be an interesting conversation between Caldarelli and Dries van Tor about the overtake into turn 1 a couple of laps ago, but the fact is the Audi is now in position to protect Christopher Mies, who's currently second. So Christian Engelhardt 2.5 seconds ahead on lap 26, with just over 5 3/4 minutes of this race to go.
So leading the way, nearly 3 seconds clear now. Christian Engelhardt looks like he's got this under control. Christopher Mies taking it easy in second place, doesn't need to push too hard. He's done the work, built on the start by his teammate Alex Riberas. They're the championship leaders, the Spaniard and the German, just showing this cosmopolitan mix. A lot of the battlers finding themselves not where they wanted to be, and it's so close in the Blancpain Sprint Cup that you cannot make a slip. At Raffaele Marcello recovered from one that just when it looked so he's going to try to pick up some points, was going to throw them all away, but he didn't. He's managed to gain 3 more positions since then. He's in 5th place, but he's 9 seconds down. So here we are, the Sprint Cup overall at the moment. As they stand, Riberas and Mies, the number 1 Audi, will finish with 86 points if they cross the line. The gap is coming down and is now down to 7.5 points over Marcello and Meadows as Marcello continues to advance. I don't think there's going to be any further moves. Bortolotti and Engelhardt will end the day 3rd overall as they started it, but they will of course have gained because they're leading the race on the 2 rival teams of Riberas and Maurice in the number 1 Audi and Marcello and Meadows in the black and yellow Mercedes number 88. Dries van Tor will move up to 4th place overall, looking very good indeed in that 3rd place on the track at the moment. Certainly very, very aggressive in his passing, and he made it stick to go past the 19 Lamborghini of Caldarelli. And having moved up to 3rd place, Dries van Tor is dropping Caldarelli. It was 0.7 of his second advantage last time around, then 1.3. And he just crossed the start-finish line. Up towards the end of another lap goes Dries van Tor. He's 3 and a bit seconds down on his teammate Christian Mies. There's Mies coming out of the final corner, the 16th turn of the lap, and it looks like the gap to the leader has gone out even more. 3 seconds clear now, Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Lamborghinis. They're the top 4. In 5th place in the background is Raffaele Marciello. He will not catch them with 3.5 minutes remaining in this race. 6th place overall, but still a really good run for Christian Klein. And in fact, for Klein and his teammates, Albert Costa, that will be equal their best results of the year, which they picked up in the first of the 2 races, the Hungaroring last time out. They came here and felt despairing yesterday after 2 dreadful practice sessions for them. Oh, just had a visit to the pits from Jack Manchester. He's going back out. That's dropped him to the tail of the field. I don't know if he picked up a puncture, but the number 19 Mercedes just going back into the race. Car number 3 must respect track limits at turn 4. It's one of the WRT Audis, but it's Ricardo Feller. He's down in 15th position, so clearly he's not alone in going wide over the curbing. There they come out of the Mercedes arena, and it's very tempting to keep the power down as you accelerate and go over the curbing, but he's got that warning flag now. So he will be putting the message through to him. So Raffaele Marciello goes deep at the bottom of the hill, but he has long since dropped Christian Klein. So Marciello heading for 5th place and championship points. Christian Klein heading for championship points, but those for 6th rather than 5th. 2 and a bit minutes remaining in this race. It's been a masterclass from the GRT Grasser Racing team with their 63 Lamborghini. Brilliant start from Mirko Bortolotti, controlled all behind him. Now I've just had a little message on the screen. Incident involving cars number 90, 26, 3 and 35. That's 20% of the field. Will be investigated after the race, and bear in mind we've just had the number 90 Mercedes with Jack Manchester coming in for a pit stop. Presumably he had some damage and had to have it checked, might have had a puncture, so we didn't catch that happening, but he was the one that lost out the most. Ricardo Feller in number 3, 26, being driven at the moment by Markus Winkelhock, and 35 with Alexei Korniev, so clearly they came together at some point. 1.5 minutes remaining in this, the first of 2 races here at the Nurburgring. Christian Engelhardt sitting on a 3-second advantage as he goes on to the final lap. Turning through the Mercedes arena, Christopher Mies in 2nd place, Dries van Tor in 3rd. So there are the first 2. Any second now, the second of the Audis will come into shot. That's the number 2 car. 4th place, Andrea Caldarelli. But from here on in, it looks remarkably simple for Christian Engelhardt. What a pairing he and Mirko Bortolotti have proved to be. Gottfried Graffer instead of the shot, just alongside Bortolotti, waiting to take what will be this combination's 3rd win in the Sprint Cup this year. They won the first race of the opening round at Zolder. They won the first race of the Hungaroring last weekend. And had it not been for a drive-through penalty for a misdemeanor during their pit stop, they could have taken possibly another win as well, and then the championship complexion would be different. But you cannot look backwards, you have to look forwards, and all they have to do, they knew this to come, it was to take at least the first race win and see where they'd be in the second race, and they've done precisely that. Well, they haven't yet, but they will do in the final sector of the lap. Turn 12 for the last time at racing speed. Gottfried, come on, practice your smiling. I think you'll have good reason to do so. Through the kink at turn 13, that advantage of 3 seconds. Not looking as though it's coming down. Christian Engelhardt will just have to concentrate a tiny bit more. Mirko Bortolotti cracks into a smile. Yeah, this is job done. Up to the chicane for the final time with no one under his rear wing. Christian Engelhardt can have a slightly conservative exit. Come into turn 16, the final corner, the right-hand hairpin. Gottfried Grasser on the radio to Christian Engelhardt. And victory in the bag. It's their 3rd win. The cheers for the GRT Grasser Racing team, punching the air. They could yet win the Sprint Cup title. They came in as the outsider. 5 crews could have taken victory in the championship, and now I think it's probably down to 3 crews who can do that. We'll do the maths a little bit later, but they are still in the mix. And there's Raffaele Marciello, who came here equal in the championship lead. He's recovered from the car being in 11th at the pit stop changeover. He's come through in 5th place. So it's going to be tight for tomorrow, but the top 3 runners are still in the battle. And look how the field is almost nose to tail as it completes the final lap. 29 laps completed. We had the period behind the safety car, or we would have had more, but advantage the GRT Grasser Racing team. And smiles around Ezekiel Perez Companc. Well, his car, the number 19 car, could have been on the podium, but when Dries van Tor battered his way up the inside of Ezekiel's teammate Andrea Caldarelli, it meant that the 19 car would end up in 4th overall. So a race of considerable interest and a little incident as well, but it was the 63 Lamborghini crew that can afford the joy of a slow cruising in lap up the atmosphere, savour the victory. And for Christian Engelhardt, it's an afternoon that has gone very, very well indeed for him. And for his teammate Mirko Bortolotti, started from pole position, had to be favourites to win this race, but it was all a case of keeping it clean and tidy and keeping in front through the first corner, the first sequence of corners through the Mercedes arena. And they did just that. Bortolotti then handed the car over to Christian Engelhardt, and all went right for the 63 Lamborghini crew. So that's 3 wins at 3 different circuits in the 2018 Sprint Cup. It means they didn't take wins at 2 of the circuits, which was Brands Hatch and indeed at Misano, where both wins went to the number 1 Audi. But here at the Nurburgring, the plaudits, the points go the way of the 63 Lamborghini crew. Second place, just to reiterate, 2.9 seconds down at the end. Christopher Mies, building on the work done by his teammate Alex Riberas, came here as the championship leaders. Dries van Tor and Will Stevens come away with the points for 3rd place overall. And they started the day in 5th in the championships. They should have possibly gained a little bit of position as well. So this race, though, the last car back to the pit lane will be the 63 Lamborghini. Christian Engelhardt just relaxing, just regaining focus on a quieter life, but it's been a very, very strong afternoon's work. Still only out at turn 12 on the 16-corner circuit, but this time doesn't need to run wide over the curves and beyond. He can just bring it home super slowly, and the first of the podium finishes. The number 2 car already pulling up beneath the podium, and the number 1 sister car likewise comes into position. Number 1, that's the Mies Riberas crew, the championship leaders coming into this race. Championship leaders at the end of this race, they are second. 3rd place, Dries van Tor and Will Stevens, and eventually the race winners. Christian Engelhardt will bring that car back in, the 63 Lamborghini, and he will join them beneath the podium. Well, hopefully, I'm sure we will have John Watson ready to grab them for interviews, but Christian Engelhardt's giving John a little longer to get down there. Christopher Mies in the green helmet, shaking the hand of Mirko Bortolotti. Alex Riberas with the beard, running in saying, "Well done, my teammate, my friend," because they are still leading the championship. Mirko Bortolotti, ever the gentleman down there, and just waiting for Dries van Tor to take his helmet off. Slippery, eh? I love these little comments, these asides you get from the drivers. They're talking about how it must have been down into turn 1 on the opening lap. Of course, they couldn't afford to get things wrong.
You go sideways. It's crazy. But that's tricky in that corner. Yeah. Because then for the next one. One time I was really close to hit
Dries van Tor looking bubbly. They left a gap for the winning car to come in. That's Mirko Bortolotti's car, and he's going to haul his teammate Christian Engelhardt out. So for Christian, a win on home ground. There we are, the fist pump. He's very, very happy with that. Kept his cool, kept his calm, kept the lead. And the photographers want a bit of the action as well. They want those winning eyes to see through the visor opening of Christian Engelhardt's helmet. But job well done. Second race tomorrow morning, of course, the finale of the 2018 Sprint Cup, and for most of these drivers, they're also challenging for the overall title. And that will be settled when we go to the final endurance round, the final Blancpain GT round of 2018 in 2 weekends' time at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. But for today, the honours belong to Mirko Bortolotti, who started the race from pole, and his teammate Christian Engelhardt. Victory for Gottfried Grasser's team, and there's Gottfried looking very content with life. And for Christopher Mies, he's happy too, because though they've got a problem, they'll be starting tomorrow's race from 14th. They did all they could today. They went from 3rd at the start up to 2nd place. Didn't have an answer to the pace of the 63 Lamborghini, but a useful haul of points today, and they remain in the lead of the championship for the 2018 Sprint Cup. Klaxons continue to go off, but let's go down into the winners area, because John Watson has got there and he's talking to our winners, Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt.
Mirko, I suppose you could describe your drive today as a beautiful drive, and everything went perfectly.
Yes, I had a good quali first of all. So we managed to get an extra point this morning with a pole position for race 1. I had a great start. It was quite tricky in turn 1 because you never know where to brake actually, because it's quite slippery and offline. So I managed to get it quite okay, but I went a little bit further than I expected, but I managed to keep my position, and after that I just tried to go my pace, defend my position as much as I could. And it was a great first stint, great race from the whole team, and I'm super happy to be back on the top step. And huge thanks everyone. Perfect day for us.
Okay. Christian, you got the car in the lead, but it wasn't really a walk on the park to the flag, was it?
No, definitely not. Of course, it's always good when you get the car in first position. Mirko did an awesome job in qualifying already this morning. But it was quite tight with the safety car. We didn't have a big lead, and we also didn't have the pace to pull a gap. So, I got in the car and I immediately had Mies behind. So it wasn't easy pushing all the way to the flag. At the end, I could go away a little bit, but I think it was not easy today. We're proud for the whole team.
Well, the number 1 car in second place was a wreck this morning. Do you ever imagine it would be chasing you to the flag?
Actually, I'm happy they could rebuild the car this quick. It's always really bad when you have a brake failure. I think the worst thing that can happen to a race driver. Happy that Christoph is fine and that they could race.
Good job.
Very gentlemanly comments there from Christian Engelhardt. You don't want to lose your championship rivals, and they didn't. And clearly they finished in second place, so that was a really important result for Alex Riberas and for Christopher Mies in that number 1 Audi. Drivers being encouraged to go up towards the podium, taking their time, and quite happily so, but busy down there. So we're looking forward to an interview now with our second place crew, Christopher Mies, and the driver who started, Alex Riberas.
Alex, you had to jump into a car that earlier this morning was a wreck. What were your emotions?
Well, first of all, my main emotion was being extremely grateful, because the guys did such a phenomenal job. I think WRT is the only team in the paddock that could have done what they did this morning, repairing the car completely. And well, I went out on the first lap going into the pre-grid, and I felt the car was good. So yeah, afterwards the race was quite solid. I just wanted to give the car on P2 for Chris and see if in the pit stop or afterwards we could try and get the win. But it was not possible. I'm still happy.
Good man. Christopher, you're the driver who had that big shunt brake failure, never very nice. But you have total confidence in your team and your car.
Well, full faith, full trust in our team. They like Alex said, they're the best in the paddock. I had like 2-3 laps where I was actually quicker a bit than Engelhardt, but then he pulled away. So I decided to not take any risk, to not have any damage or off track. So I knew Marcello was P5 or started P9, then 8.765. So obviously I knew we just have to finish in front to score more points than him for the championship. And I think we did the perfect job today.
So you managed to consolidate your lead, in fact extend that lead.
Yeah, well, at one stage I knew that Christian will defend like crazy to stay in front. So his only chance to be in the championship fight until tomorrow would be that he's winning the race in front of us. So I knew even if I get next to him, he probably just turns in on me. So I decided to take no risk, let him go, let him have fun, and we just finished P2 and score points.
Good thinking, Batman.
Again, it's about consistent pace, it's about thinking where you are, and it's about delivering. 16.5 points for victory. They took the 12 points for second place, and so their advantage stretches. But let's go down to hear from the crew that finished in third place, Will Stevens and Dries van Tor.
Well, when you're a bit bogged down in the middle of a pack, just how difficult is it to make progress?
Yeah, it's difficult. Obviously, I actually made a really good start. I managed to get the jump on Gachet in front of me, and then he braked too late, so I couldn't actually turn in. So the start was a bit messy. I made a really good restart again and got past Schotthorst, and then he hit me off into turn 6, so he got back past again. But I mean, overall, yeah, the pace was pretty strong. We just couldn't really move through the pack.
Excellent. Dries, another great drive, but Andrea Caldarelli's coming looking for you, I think.
I mean, that's not my problem, but yeah, I mean, after the pit stop, the guys at the WT did a mega pit stop again for us, so big thanks to them. And And then after that, I was behind Andre. I was like really close coming out of the pit lane, and then we got quite quickly past the Lexus and past the Mercedes. And then I was stuck behind him for like 6 laps, and I made a mistake in the last corner. I said, yeah, now I have to try, otherwise I will be finished before. So I tried, and it's difficult to overtake with these cars. So you have to brake late, and you have to make sure you're next to him. And looking at my car, I think I was next to him. Maybe he didn't expect me. He didn't look in the mirror. Maybe it was maybe a bit far, but I think I was next to him before we went in the corner, or in the corner when he wanted to turn in. So some people will say yes, some people will say no, but at the end the stewards decided that they don't give a penalty for it. So for me, it's a clean pass, and I'm happy with P3.
Thing is, say less about it and just move on.
John Watson giving life class there to Dries van Tor, who will be lapping all of that up. He hunted him down. So here, after 29 laps, victory to the 63 Lamborghini team. Mirko Bortolotti, Christian Engelhardt, Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies. Really important race for their championship. They knew they couldn't take the lead, so they stayed in second place and gathered the points for that to just under 3 seconds down. Will Stevens, their teammate, and Dries van Tor in the number 2 Audi coming home third after getting past the Ezequiel Perez Compang, Andrea Cordarelli Lamborghini. But the driver who made the moves was Raffaele Marcello, took over in 11th place and moved up to 5th place to take the points that go with that. Very important indeed, because they came here equal on points with the championship leaders, and they took the points that went with that 5th place. So they stay in the hunt. 3 of the drivers didn't make it to the finish. The Rice and DuPont BMW among them, and the 2 Ferraris clattering into each other down at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. So there we have it, a 6-point advantage for the crew that finished in second place. Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies, Raffaele Marcello and Michael Meadows. Marcello's fight keeping them just 6 points behind. It could have been a whole lot worse when they're out of the points. And Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt, their victory closes their gap to the top of the championship. They've got a mountain to climb tomorrow, 11 points down, and there are 16.5 points for victory, so they've got to really hope they win. They've got to win, haven't they, to keep themselves into the championship reckoning at the final round. But as the drivers come onto the podium, Will Stevens, the first one out, 3rd place in that number 2 Audi. He'll be followed, in fact, Dries van Tor has beaten him onto the podium. And Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies, the championship leaders with an enhanced lead, come out after that 2nd place onto the podium. Gottfried Grasser, the manager of the race-winning team, comes out onto the podium. And the winners this afternoon for the Grasser Racing team, welcome Mirko Bortolotti, and behind him Christian Engelhardt. A very good afternoon's enterprise for them.
Zu Ehren der Sieger hören wir jetzt die Hymne des Teams aus Österreich, die österreichische Nationalhymne.
So the national anthem of the winning team. Caps back on the podium, the Pirelli caps, and out come the presentations. So the trophy for 3rd place to Dries van Tor and Will Stevens. Second place trophy to another crew from WRT, the crew that lead the championship, Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies. And the winning crew get the giant trophies for victory. Trophies big enough to match their smiles. So Christian Engelhardt on the left, Mirko Bortolotti on the right. They're looking across to Gottfried Grasser, team chief, on the left of the shot there. And then the bit they like as well, Stefan Rattel coming out to present the checks, euros to pay for many, many a tweak for each of those teams as they go towards the end of the season. So job well done. Lamborghini crew ahead of two top Audi crews, and the Mercedes that was also challenging for the title coming home in 5th place, salvaging points on a day when it looked it might have been going slightly wrong for them, but no mistakes at all from the drivers who are reaching for the champagne bottles. Oh, they can't have the champagne yet, they've got to have the trophies up for the photos, but today belongs to Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt. And it must be said, for Alex Riberas and Chris Vermees, they came here as championship leaders, they're still the champion leaders. Come and join us tomorrow morning for the final race of 2018.